What's up, y'all? My name is Roberto Antonio Martin, also known as Berto Antonio, Roberto Martin. I got many names. But welcome to my channel, and this is my first video. My first little talking head video like this. And I thought the best topic to talk about was how do we love ourselves? How do you love yourself? How does one love yourself? You know, that's something that we hear all the time. People are like, hey, you gotta love yourself. And a lot of times, you know, when I would hear that, honestly, I get hella mad, bro. Like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know, you gotta love yourself. And then sometimes when I'm not in a not in a good spot and I'm in a good, dark state, I'm just like, all right, shut up. You know, it almost is kind of annoying when I hear people like, yeah, I know, I got to love myself. But what does that mean? And what does that mean other than like hippy dippy bullshit, you know? And as I've gotten older, I realize like loving yourself is the basis of everything, bro. That is the foundation. Without that, I can't build all the other things that I want to build. Good health, healthy relationships, career goals. None of those things. They're just going to have breakdowns because I'm not solid with the source. You know? So, how do I love myself? Back to that. What are some concrete things? Because that's what people want to know. That's what I want to know. Is like, okay, I get it. Love yourself. But how do you do that? The first thing I would say, and one of the most powerful things for myself, is just noticing my thoughts. Noticing my thoughts. Becoming aware of how I talk to myself. That was like the most life-changing thing for me. You know, it's something that I would do and it was just automatic. You know, it was like my mind was my garden and these negative thoughts were the weeds that I just let completely take control over my mind. And I will see it when I do certain things like, I don't know, I take a picture. I look at the photo, I'm like, yo, let me see this photo. Oh my God, look, I'm wearing this, look at my this, look at that, this is to this. You know, constantly just critiquing myself. And, you know, at first I'm like, oh, you know, it's harmless. I just want to look good. It's like, no, I'm berating myself, tearing myself down to the point that, you know, I'm fearful. I start doubting myself. I start, you know, not thinking I'm photogenic, you know? And then you have these type of thoughts that really hinder you and keep you stuck from trying things because you've been berating yourself. And it's a shame. Because if you only knew how beautiful you really were. Right? So, first thing I would do is just notice. Just notice, be aware of what my mind is doing. And from there, it'll bring clarity. Right? Then after that, anytime I notice that, I check it. Not letting anything slide. If I'm like, oh man, like, I'm like, nope, I am not. I am this and that. Say the complete opposite, the positive, and be a stickler about it. Not letting anything slide. And that's how I start to take momentum from the negative and start moving it into the positive. And I mean, I am diligent. And at first, it's going to be hard. It's going to be super hard. You have momentum in a different direction, you know? But you're going to bring that momentum into another direction, right? And you're going to watch your life open up. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. You know? I'm so excited. You deserve that. And I understand, like, I was a person who was mad ambitious. I was super ambitious. And so a part of me was like, you know, like, I need to be this hard on myself. I need to be critical on myself. And I just had to come to terms with, like, was it working? And it wasn't working for me. You know, for some people that works for them. Some people, they get motivated by people like, I'm a piece of whatever. I'm not even going to joke about it, you know? And that works for them, or at least that's what they say. But when I'm honest, it doesn't work for me. Hasn't worked for me. The most positive changes that I've made in my life have come from having a positive self-talk. Really going into the gutter and cleaning all the different crevices and challenging all limiting beliefs and all negative things that I said about myself. And that's where it started. And having just like positive mental habits, you know, just good habits of how I speak to myself. And I'll go into the mirror and I'll be like, I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. And I'll say it 500 times. 500 times. You know? And it makes sense. Like, I got that when I was reading this one book, Louise Hay. Louise Hay. Amazing author. You Can Heal Your Life. And at first when I got this book, people were like, man, this is a bunch of hippy dippy bullshit. For real. That's what most people were going to say, bro. I'm a freaking Cuban black man from Oakland, California. You know what I mean? I talk about like, hey, bro, I'm on this thing where I'm loving myself. People are going to be like, that sounds like a bunch of BS. But it's not. It's everything. You know? You're having breakdowns in relationships, probably because you're having breakdowns with yourself. You know, not having the job you want, self. You're not making the money you need. You know, your career's not flowing how you want. You know, you're not making art. It's like all comes from not loving the self. And the first step towards change is simply being kinder to yourself. And how am I speaking to myself? That's the first thing. Change my life, bro. Change my life, bro. Not being harder on myself, not like kicking myself into gear. Maybe some people need that. But for me, I'm like, bro, I was super disciplined. There was something else that kept things breaking down in my life. You know? I had to come to the realization, like, I am really killing myself out here to make change. And some stuff is still going wrong. Like, I have to reevaluate everything. And I did. And I noticed that once I started being kinder to myself, like, things started to flow. And it's also a process. That's one thing I learned. You know? Sometimes people come over here and they're like, I've solved this thing. And, you know, I'm done. I've done the work and it's over. The work is never over, bro. It's like making your bed. You can make your bed once and dope. You made your bed. You can even make your bed every day for 3 months. You're going to need to make your bed every single time you sleep in that bed, you know? You could make it perfectly every day for 3 months and then, you know, completely fall off. So you have to stay humble, you know, with loving yourself. And you take it day by day. And there's sometimes where I get anxious, you know? I'll get super anxious. And that's when I have to turn it over to a power greater than myself to help me, you know? Because sometimes, like, I can get lost in just trying to control every single one of my thoughts. You know what I mean? I gotta surrender. I have to give it up. Ask for help. And even the ability of being able to ask for help and that being okay is another form of me loving myself. So yeah, being kinder to myself. I hope that helps. Blessings.